Here's how to prepare yourself to buy your first home. Hey guys, my name is Carly, aka the Enchanted Agent with Realtor, and I'm a Central Florida Disney-loving realtor. I work with lots of first-time home buyers and I have lots of information to share. Before we get into it, I do want to address the elephant in the room. Guys, it's not easy for first-time home buyers right now. Between increasing interest rates and the constant increase of home prices, especially in Central Florida, it's really difficult for first-time home buyers. Today, I want to talk to you about a few things you can do to both mentally and financially prepare yourself to buy your first home. I promise if you watch to the end of this video, you're going to feel a whole lot more comfortable with the idea of buying a house. The first and most crucial step to preparing to buy a house is figuring out what you can afford. And when I say what you can afford, I don't mean you can afford a $350 house. $350, wouldn't that be great? A $350,000 house. I mean monthly payments, because that's what you need to factor into your budget, right? What is your monthly mortgage payment going to be? And when I say payments, did you know that doesn't only include the actual cost of the house? You have to factor in things like HOA fees, CDDs, taxes, and insurance. So how do you figure out what a monthly payment on a house is? Well, let me tell you. So a mortgage lender is going to be able to help you figure out exactly what monthly payments you can afford in your budget and what that equates to as far as a home value goes. And did you know if you hook up with a lender, even if we go looking at houses, before you even put an offer in on that house, we can send all of the information to the lender and they can break down an estimate of what your monthly payments will be before we put an offer in. So you're not buying a house blindly and having no idea what your payments will be. You'll have a pretty good idea of what your payments will be before your offer even gets accepted. While we're on the topic of money, let's just go ahead and get all the money talk out of the way. The second point is understanding what it costs to buy a house. Obviously, you know there are certain costs involved with buying a house, so I'm going to dive into what those are right now and exactly what to expect. So the first cost you're going to want to know about is your escrow deposit or your good faith deposit. This is a deposit that's paid to a seller as you're putting your offer in to show like, hey, I have some skin in the game. Look, I'm giving you some money to be held at title, and if I bail for any reason that's not allowed, you get to keep that money. Now this can range anywhere. You actually don't even have to include an escrow deposit in your offer. It does make your offer more desirable though, so it's definitely recommended. And that's usually recommended to at least be 1% of the home purchase price. Next is going to be your down payment. Now this will vary based on a lot of things, but just to give a general idea, let's assume that your down payment is 3.5% of the purchase price of the home. Now it could be more, it could be less. There's a lot of factors that affect it, a lot of financial information that you can get from your lender, but 3.5% is a good starting point. And don't listen to anyone that says you have to put 20% down to buy a house, because you do not. I have never in my life worked with someone who's put 20% down on a house, so don't let that deter you. Next are inspections and appraisals. So these can also vary in price depending on a bunch of different variables, especially inspections, depending on what inspections you choose to do. As your realtor, I'm going to tell you to do all of them, but it's up to you. So a good estimate is you're probably going to spend at least $1,000 between the inspection and the appraisal. And closing costs. Again, I know I sound like a broken record. These are going to vary based on your situation, but 3% of the purchase price is a good estimate for what your closing costs could look like. Again, it could be more, it could be less, depending on a lot of financial information. Finally, you need to save up some money just for the move in general. Moving costs money, and so does maybe updating a house or fixing some things in the house that you purchase. We're going to get into why managing your expectations on that really soon, but it's important to put money away for that as well, because most likely you're going to have to dump at least some money into this home after you move in. Now for the good news. Depending on the type of market you're purchasing a house in, you may be able to get a seller or a builder to pay some of these costs for you, so the burden doesn't always fall on the buyer. However, you need to make sure that you're working with a knowledgeable and experienced realtor who is able to help negotiate those terms during your offer. The third point, and one of the things that my first-time homebuyers generally struggle with the most, is managing your expectations when buying your first house. I'm a millennial, and a lot of people that are buying houses right now are millennials and Gen Zs. We were born in the era of instant gratification. I'm guilty of it as well. Literally the second I place an Amazon order, I'm already looking at the tracking to seeing when that thing will get delivered to my front door. Unfortunately, this tends to trickle down into home buying as well, and I'll tell you why. A lot of first-time home buyers are expecting that Pinterest perfect, move-in ready, turnkey, super updated home in the best part of town that they can't afford. This becomes a problem because people can't manage their own expectations and they're expecting their first home to be their forever home, which it's not. And guys, I totally get it. We've worked our butts off. We've made it through a pandemic where we may have lost our jobs or had to reinvent ourselves. I totally understand that you work hard and you want something to show for that, but sometimes you have to be thinking long term. It might be better to buy that house that needs a little bit of updating, or maybe isn't exactly in that part of town you wanted, but pretty close to it. Buy that house, keep it for a few years, build a ton of equity, and then take that money to buy your dream house in the neighborhood that you really want with the perfect kitchen and the perfect pool and everything like that. It's all about looking into the future and understanding that a purchase that you make today can help you get to those goals eventually. Now, let's be real, I don't have a magical crystal ball, because if I did, I certainly would not be filming this video right now. But in my opinion, the real estate market is looking stronger than ever in Central Florida, and trends are showing that interest rates are going to keep increasing and also home values are going to keep increasing. In my opinion, if you're waiting to buy a house, you're only doing yourself a disservice, and things are just going to become more and more unattainable the longer you wait. And to my last point, which is going to be super controversial as a realtor who gets paid from people buying houses. Not everyone can or should buy a house, and that's totally okay. Do you think you might be moving in the next few months or few years for a job or for a relationship or any other reason? You probably shouldn't buy a house unless you can afford to rent that other house and buy a new one, because you're not going to make as much money if you're selling the house within a few years. Also, do you not like taking care of things around the house? You don't want the burden of replacing that $15,000 air conditioning unit. You don't want to deal with sprinklers when they're geysering in your front yard and you just want to call someone to come fix it for free. Well, then owning a house might not be for you, because there are a lot of expenses to upkeeping a home. Not everyone needs to own a house, and not everyone needs to buy a house right now, and that is totally fine. It's your journey, and I'm here to support you in any way that you need. So, how are you feeling now after listening to some of my points? I know buying a house can be so scary, and I love to share this story. When my husband and I bought our first house, as soon as we got the call that they had accepted our offer, we looked at each other and we were like, what the f did we just do? It is so scary to put that much money up and to be on the hook for such a large purchase. But man, when I tell you that I am so happy we bought our house 6 years ago, the amount of equity that we have in our home is money that we would have never been able to make in that time frame doing anything else. And also, our house is awesome and I love it. And guess what? It needed some updates. We redid all of the flooring ourselves. We painted the entire house ourselves, and it's beautiful now. Is it my forever home and exactly what I want? No, it definitely isn't, but it's giving me that equity in order to maybe buy that dream home in a couple years from now. So in conclusion, sometimes it does take a little bit of a leap of faith in order to get yourself into home ownership. By the way, if you want a free guide to buying a home, I've developed a guide that tells you from start to finish what to expect in the home buying process. All of my contact info will be at the end of this video, so if you want this digital guide sent to you for free, just shoot me an email and I'll send it over to you. So, are you ready to begin your home search? If so, like I said, my contact info is at the end of this video. Let's reach out and find your happily ever after. By the way, if you're not a Disney fan, I officially look like a lunatic. I'm so sorry. But either way, please give me a ring if you have any questions about real estate in Central Florida, any questions about buying a house for the first time. I'm always happy to help.